For nearly 100 years, there has been a national icon whose name evokes fun and excitement. That icon is Lionel, manufacturer of more electric trains and accessories than anyone. No other toy has generated so much fun for so long. Children want to participate, Joshua Cowan, Lionel's founder, said. They want movement and action. They don't just want to watch a train go round and round. A few minutes of that and the little nippers will wander off and squeeze out some toothpaste or set fire to the curtains. They've got to get in on the action. Lionel provided plenty of action. The key to Lionel's success was making their young customers want to expand their layouts. And the key to expansion was accessories. For it was the accessories that gave the trains their purpose and drama. Lionel's product development team was kept busy coming up with new ideas, and Lionel's advertising department made sure those new ideas looked irresistible in the catalogs. Accessories were always in the back, right after the top-of-the-line sets. The illustrations looked great, even though many accessories were out of scale and most had no prototypical counterpart. That didn't matter then, it doesn't matter now. What does matter is loading and unloading coal, logs, barrels, culverts, and ice cubes. That's the way to have fun. That's plain trains. Welcome aboard our action-packed tribute to Lionel Accessories, the most ingenious and fun toys ever made. The 97 coal elevator, considered a classic, was the first of Lionel's remote control loading and unloading accessories. Tall and colorful, the 97 is easy to spot. The base and bin are made of Bakelite, all the rest from stamped metal. The 97 was designed to go with a dump car and requires 2 parallel lines of track. After the car dumps the coal into the receiving bin, the operator turns the knob on the 97C controller. The bin tilts back and the coal is scooped up by little buckets attached to a chain powered by an AC motor. The coal is carried to the storage area at the top. Press the unload button and the coal tumbles down to another car waiting on the adjacent track. This popular accessory ran until 1942, when all toy train production stopped for World War II. The 97 coal elevator was resurrected after the war and was cataloged from 1946 to 1950. The only variation worth mentioning is the version made in 1942. Its tower was painted gray. Most towers are painted silver. Lionel, who liked to use their stampings for more than one item, introduced the 96 manual coal elevator in 1938 and the 98 elevated coal storage bunker in 1939. Neither were carried over to the post-war era. The 96 manual coal elevator looks and functions like the 97, except the 96 has no motor. The chain is powered by hand using a crank. The 96 is harder to find than the 97 because less were made, but it is not as highly valued by collectors. The 98 elevated coal storage bunker lacks both the motor and the elevator. Coal is delivered by hand but can be dumped using the 96C controller.
In 1948, business was booming. Lionel trains were the #1 toy, and Lionel was selling everything it could produce. It seemed everyone wanted to build a layout or make the one they had bigger. To help feed the demand, Lionel introduced the 397 diesel coal loader, which was one of the few accessories inspired by a prototypical design. It too was designed to go with the automatic coal dump car and to be placed next to a remote control track section. Operation starts with the coal being dumped into the bin. The bin is connected to a cam. The bin is stepped and snaps back with every quarter turn of the cam. At each snap, the coal is jiggled up one step towards the rear of the bin until it falls into a depressed area at the base of the rubber conveyor belt. The coal is then picked up by the ridges on the conveyor belt. The belt carries the coal to the top where it is flipped against a plastic shield and drops to a waiting coal car. There are two major variations. The earliest models had a yellow diesel motor housing and a number 70 yard lamp. This version is very hard to find. Beware of reproduction yellow motor housings. The common version has a blue motor cover and no yard light. The 397 was smaller than the 97 and could fit in tighter spaces, and no special sidings or complicated track plans were necessary since the loading and unloading were both done in front of the loader. It is the least dependable of all Lionel's coal loaders. Coal usually gets stuck in the belt and jams. Applying a length of tape around the conveyor boom helps prevent jamming. Using Lionel coal also helps. A light coat of cornstarch or talcum powder on the inside of the belt helps prevent sticking. The plastic shield, which prevents the coal from flying away, breaks easily, and even with the shield, half the coal flies all over the place anyway. The 397 spills about as much coal as it loads, but it looks neat and was a good seller. The 456 coal ramp was a companion piece to the 397. The idea is to back a 3456 Norfolk and Western operating hopper, which was included with the 456, along with a bag of coal, up the ramp until it couples with the coupler built into the pier at the top of the ramp. An electromagnet in the ramp uncouples the hopper from the train, which can then pull away. A second electromagnet opens the little trapdoors on the hopper, and coal drops down to a bin, which is secured to the 397 coal loader by two metal support posts. The bin and the posts also came with the 456. The coal drops through a sliding door into the 397. The 397 then goes into action, dumping the coal into another car and completing the complicated process. A red light at the top of the end pier goes on when the hopper is released to rejoin its train. A lot of skill, luck, and patience is required to operate the 456 successfully.
The 497 coaling station is a handsome elevated structure with Lionel in sans serif letters across the front. This accessory combines the coal elevator and the coal ramp into one operation and requires only one track. Most Lionel dump cars will work with the 497. The car is activated by contact blades similar to those used on the 3656 cattle corral platform. The dump car is parked directly under the coaling station and dumps its coal load into the bin. The empty car is pulled away. The operator pushes the lever forward and the bin rises slowly until it dumps the coal into the storage area at the top. Pull the lever down and the bin returns to its original position. Next, an empty car rolls in to be loaded. The chutes open and the coal is dumped into the car. The only major variation of the 497 has to do with the color of the roof. Bright green is common, dark green is rare. The 497 looks good and moves coal efficiently.
In 1984, Lionel of Fundimensions reissued this accessory, assigning it the number 2315. It was identical to the post-war version, except that it required a remote-controlled track section, and the motor was a DC can type instead of the larger and noisier AC Pullmore. The roof was light gray, just as the original catalog depiction for the 497 in 1953.
Lumber was another staple of railroading freight, so in 1940, Lionel introduced the 164 lumber loader. The 164 used the same type of motor that powered the 97 coal elevator. The base is made of bakelite and painted a bright green. The supports are die-cast, and the log storage bin is made of stamped steel. The bakelite roof is painted red. 2 lamps located under the roof illuminate the action. The 164 is placed between 2 lines of track, 14 3/4 inches apart. A log car dumps the logs into one side of the log loader. The logs are then picked up by the chains, which have tabs attached that slide under the logs. The logs are flipped over the top onto an inclined plane where they are stored. The logs are then dumped into a parked car on the other track. The 164 is another classic. Sturdy, noisy, colorful, interesting to watch, and popular.
The 264 forklift platform consists of a platform equipped with a miniature forklift truck and a 6264 Lionel Lines flat car loaded with lumber stacks. The forklift truck is connected to a metal blade through a slot. At the push of a button, the truck moves over to the timber flat car, grips and lifts a board, turns around and takes the board over to the platform, drops it, then returns for another load. After one side of the flat car is unloaded, the car is moved so the forklift can unload the lumber from the other side. This accessory is driven by the same vibrotor technology that Lionel used for many of its operating accessories in cars. The 264 forklift platform is a very reliable operator. Sometimes a simple design is just as entertaining as a complex one. For example, the 364 conveyor lumber loader. It's simple and it's entertaining. The action starts with the log car dumping its load into the 364. A red conveyor belt takes them to the top where they roll to the edge and fall into another log car. The 364 is 28 inches long and made entirely of stamped sheet metal. The 364 uses the same motor as the 397 diesel coal loader. A light with 2 green lenses and 1 red is located at the lower end of the conveyor belt. An advantage to this accessory was that it only required 1 track. Make sure the 364 is level. If it isn't, the logs get jammed or roll off crooked.
The 464 Sawmill, powered by the versatile Lionel vibrotor motor, is a fascinating accessory to watch. Logs disappear into the mill and reappear on the other side, mysteriously sawed into boards. The grating noise of the vibrotor, which sounds like a real sawmill, adds to the illusion. The logs are pushed one by one into the mill by a series of tabs attached to a conveyor belt, which is actually a loop of clear 16mm film. Inside the mill, the tab releases the log. The log then rolls down an incline away from the conveyor belt to a storage area. The tab then pushes a plank out the other side and onto the platform, creating the illusion that a round log has been run into the mill and instantly shaped into a plank. The logs are retrieved by opening a hatch on the back of the sawmill. The wood planks are reloaded through a slot in the roof. The 464 performed well and was one of the most ingenious accessories ever developed by Lionel. The 464 Sawmill was the first post-war accessory to be reissued by Lionel Fundimensions. The new version, numbered 2302, was identical to the post-war 464, except the number on the window was omitted. The Sawmill has remained in Lionel's product line ever since, with only color changes.
Lionel's reissued products generate pro and con feelings. Those opposed feel the reissues hurt the value of originals. Those in favor welcome the opportunity to buy the accessory at a lower price. In the case of the 164, the reissue was different enough from the original that no controversy ever surfaced. The most notable difference concerned the roof and storage bin. A lightweight red plastic replaced the heavy bakelite roof of the original. The plastic is so translucent, the two lights underneath bleed through, creating a red glow. The storage bin on the original was metal and painted a bright yellow. The bin on the reissue is made of a dark yellow plastic. While lacking the original's weight and rigidity, the reissue is a reliable operator and far more affordable.
The 165 remote control magnetic crane was one of the few Lionel accessories based on the real thing. Real magnetic cranes are used to move scrap metal and rail in junkyards. The Lionel crane is well proportioned and colorful, employing Lionel's popular silver, green, yellow, and red paint scheme. The crane consists of a bakelite base and stamped steel superstructure and cab. When power is applied to the magnet, the red light inside the cab glows. The crane can swivel 360 degrees to the right or left. The hook and magnet can be automatically raised or lowered. The boom is raised or lowered manually using a hand crank located on the back panel of the cab. Lionel Crane, in raised letters, is embossed along the side of the boom. Cutler hammer is embossed on the top of the electromagnet. A bag of small scrap metal was included. The crane can be used to carry other types of loads by removing the magnet and using the hook. The 165 has great play value and is a reliable operator. The base, superstructure, and controller for the 182 magnetic crane were similar to those used on the 165. In fact, the picture of the 182 crane in the 1946 catalog was actually a 165 crane. The 182 uses the same motor as the 38 water tower and double O gauge Hudson. The boom and cab were taken from the 2460 crane car. The base of the cab is die cast and has a catwalk with wire handrails. The 182 operated just like the 165, a red light coming on inside the cab when the magnet was turned on. The 182 also has a hand crank to lower and raise the boom. A bag of steel blanks was included.
Operating cranes were absent from the Lionel accessory line until 1954 when the 282 Gantry crane was released. This accessory was redesigned so that its gray plastic stand spans the track, allowing a train to pass underneath. The bottom of the legs have flanged wheels, which were designed to ride on rails that were never produced. Cutting Lionel large-scale track in half works quite nicely. The handrail on the operator's cab and the pulley assembly on the boom that were on the 182 crane were eliminated. So was the red interior light. Operation is similar to the 182. The 282 came with a new controller. Some changes were made in 1956, an example of Lionel making modifications in mid-run to improve performance while not changing the outward appearance. To indicate these minor changes, Lionel added the suffix R for redesign to the original number. To tell the difference between the 282 and a 282R, check the cab, roof, and magnet. On 282s, the cab is secured by screws. The stack is glued on the roof, and the magnet is black. On 282Rs, the cab snaps onto its base. The stack is molded on, and the magnet is nickel. The 282 crane looks fabulous, with the large Lionel name on the superstructure and a train passing underneath. 1957 was the last year any crane was offered in the post-war era.
In 1980, Lionel was back in the crane business. The hand-operated 2303 manual Gantry crane was included with the 1072 Cross Country Express set. The crane was in the beautiful blue and yellow freight colors of the Santa Fe. It had two cranks, one to raise and lower the hook and pulley, and the other for the boom. The boom had the pulley and detail of the 182 crane. Lionel enthusiasts were happy to see the crane back, but they wanted an operating crane. Lionel responded with the 2316 Norfolk & Western operating Gantry crane. Two DC motors replaced the AC motor and complicated mechanism of the post-war version. The DC motors were quieter. One powered the hook and the other rotated the cab. But there was still no magnet. Finally, in 1987, Lionel Trains Incorporated released the 12700 Erie Lackawanna magnetic Gantry crane. This crane has the bright graphics associated with modern era production and all the play value of the post-war original. The magnet itself had a similar Cutler hammer housing like the 165 and 182 cranes.
With their eye toward the trend for realistic train operation, Lionel Trains Incorporated developed an entirely new crane based on the huge cranes used in rail and shipyards to move containers. Lionel had already produced intermodal containers riding on special flat cars. So now Lionel operators could load and unload the containers just like the operators of real intermodal cranes. It wasn't easy. The 12741 MyJack intermodal crane first came in Union Pacific markings and was released in 1989. The controller was a new type with 5 levers. The crane is huge, measuring 14.5 inches high, 8.5 inches wide, and 12 3/4 inches long. It sits on top of 4 large wheels which move the crane up and down a siding. A large claw-like pair of forks close to grab the container for transfer, and open to release it. The forks slide right or left between the rail line and docking area for the containers. It takes careful calculation and a lot of patience to load and unload the containers.
What makes a great accessory is debatable, but if realism and play value are important, then Lionel's 313 Bascule bridge has to rank high on any list. Considered one of Lionel's classic accessories, the Bascule bridge was patterned after the big trestle-type bridges that span rivers. The bridge was painted silver and was fastened to a green Bakelite base. The stationary base was also green and had a red and yellow bridge tender shack that housed the motor. On one end was a decorative counterweight. At the top was a steadily glowing red light. To install the bridge on a flat ground level surface, Lionel furnished a steel anchor frame to keep the 2 sets of tracks aligned. It is necessary to create 2 insulated blocks on either side of the bridge to prevent the train from derailing. The bridge is activated by pressing a 96C controller. The bridge slowly rises, accompanied by the low grinding noise of the motor. A counterbalancing spring aided the motor in lifting the bridge. Pressing the button again lowers the bridge. Lionel first produced this accessory in 1940 through 1942 and again from 1946 through 1949.
Stationary bridges added dimension and realism to even the most basic layouts. The 314 scale model girder bridge and the 214 plate girder bridge were both realistically detailed and could fit just about anywhere on a layout. Some 314s were painted silver. Others were painted gray. Most 214s came with Lionel embossed on the girders. Others had U.S. steel. These are the same girders that came with the 64-18 girder bridge car. Longer, more elaborate trestle-type bridges could be either elevated or flat on the layout surface. These included the 315 trestle bridge with warning light, the 316 trestle bridge, and the 317 trestle bridge, all made of stamped metal. A 321 trestle bridge, made of plastic with a stamped metal base, was also available and required some assembly. A beautiful model that necessitated an elevated track line was the 332 arch underbridge.
In 1950, for its golden anniversary, Lionel announced plans for the 213 lift bridge. A prototype was made, and an illustration of that prototype appeared in the 1950 catalog. The 213 never went into production and has been the subject of conjecture by collectors ever since. The prototype was eventually purchased by Al Cox of Seattle in 1978. We wanted to include the 213 in this video, so we asked Al if he would send the prototype to us so we could shoot it in our studio. Al said he'd rather not. So we did the next best thing. We asked Al and his son John to videotape the bridge in their home, which they did. The 213 measures 26 inches long, 13 inches high, and 4.5 inches wide. It uses the same motor as the 397 diesel coal loader, and the lifting mechanism is very similar to the lifting mechanism on the 497 coaling station. The motor turns a rod and it winds up two cords that lift the tray. That principle works fine for the lightweight tray of the coaling station, but the span of the 213 lift bridge proved too heavy. Parts of the generator from the 3620 Searchlight car were used to add detail at the top of both towers. Thanks to Al and John Cox for allowing us to show, for the first time anywhere, the Lionel 213 lift bridge in action.
In 1975, Lionel of Fundimensions introduced the first all-new accessory of the modern era, the 2317 drawbridge. It was designed to be used with 027 track, which alienated O-gauge operators. Comprised mainly of molded plastic, it resembled an inverted girder bridge, and its operation was very similar to the 313 Bascule bridge. But unlike the Bascule bridge, The 2317 required elevation and spanned another track line. The drawbridge was too low for a train to pass underneath it, so the bridge had to be raised. Then lowered again to allow a train to pass across it. The 2317 was powered by a quiet DC motor and included a bell which rang while the bridge was in motion. This accessory also required at least 2 insulated blocks, 4 if the trains would be coming from either direction. In the modern era, Lionel reissued several post-war bridges. In 1989, Lionel Trains Incorporated modified the traditional 321 type trestle bridge and produced the 12721 extension bridge with flashing light. In 1990, a newly designed illuminated extension bridge, the 12772, was released.
"41 years after plans to produce the 213 were scrapped, Lionel Trains Incorporated introduced the 12782 operating lift bridge, the largest Lionel accessory ever produced. The new bridge came with its own power supply and included the newly developed Rail Sounds technology. It is comprised of a series of tow lines, pulleys, counterweights, and towers. The bridge is designed either for ground surface or elevated installation. When activated, a bell starts ringing and the bridge span slowly begins to rise. A green signal light turns to red for oncoming rail traffic, and a red light turns to green for oncoming traffic otherwise blocked by the bridge in the down position. The bridge is lowered again by the controller, and a diesel horn is heard as it starts its descent. The tracks must be insulated to keep the trains from running into the chasm.
In Lionel LLC's first catalog for its Heritage line, the copy accurately read, "The all-time Lionel classic is back." That classic was the 313 Bascule bridge. The many regimes of modern-era Lionel always did a good job of reissuing post-war accessories. The reissue of the Bascule bridge was no exception. They even improved on the original by raising the counterweight so bigger locomotives could pass through. They also replaced the noisy AC motor with a new, much quieter DC motor, and a light was added to the tender shack. 2 large gears were mounted on either side of the bridge. One of them is driven directly by the DC motor, which results in more efficient operation. Another change had to do with the red light on top. On the original version, it glowed constantly. On the new version, the red light blinks. Wiring is a bit more difficult as the terminal clips are located under the base instead of thumb screws on top like on the original. This concludes part 1 of our series on toy train accessories. Part 2 will include more loading and unloading accessories, stations, and trackside accessories.
Train.